My dears, how are you? It is Friday, and this is part five of the series that we've been doing this whole week to kind of get ready for 2017 and for you to be able to make more meaningful progress on purpose in 2013. We're going back, folks. It's a time machine. No, in 2017, as we begin this new year. And I know that culturally, this is the time of year where we get particularly excited about goals and reflecting on what's worked, what's not. I am not a believer necessarily that it has to be a particular time of year, but since we are here, since now is where we live, then I'd love to be able to kind of cap this week off in this series of chats with what I believe is the whole purpose, the whole point of actually having goals and pursuing progress and striving for things. And so I'm going to be sharing a bit about that and some next right steps and things that you can do to start to connect to whatever it is that you really want that's kind of the goal beyond your goals, if that makes sense. So what I've learned since starting Map of Progress, since working with thousands of mappers and coaching a number of you personally, is that anytime that we have a goal, anytime we have an idea or a vision of what it is that we want in our life, we have this sense of what we might feel or what we might get to experience, who we might get to be from having achieved that goal. And that's usually the thing that drives us to want to take the courageous act of starting something new and actually trying to change our behaviors and shift patterns and get whatever it is that we think we want. What I've noticed is that it's not the kind of thing that is a destination. I know you hear that cliche a lot about, oh, it's about the journey, but in this case, it really is. I mean, in going after whatever goal it is that you have, whether you want to pay off money or buy a new house or lose weight, or maybe you want to launch a business or write a novel, or, it could be any sort of pursuit, any goal that you have in mind. And when you are at the outset and you have that vision of what you think it's going to turn out to be, that is where we start, but it's just the beginning. And it's just the kind of perspective of that initial part of the process of making progress. And that process, of course, is a whole bunch of what I call next right steps, or actions that you take toward your goal. So your bigger vision of whatever it is that you want. And then you start to break it down into smaller things, actions that you can take, things that you have control over. And that, becomes part of the process. And oftentimes I think we forget that, and we focus on the end result. We focus on a specific set of expectations that we have of how it's supposed to go, and not realizing that where the magic is happening is actually in the process, and it's in the doing. It's in the messiness and the stickiness, and it's the excitement and enthusiasm when you have tiny victories and when things go well. And it's the knowing how to be with yourself when you start to feel discouraged, or when the fear comes up in waves, as it does. And that's part of it. It's a whole experience. And in that experience, you cannot stay the same person, because you are doing different things. You are trying new approaches. You are going further than you have gone before. So it's sort of a transformation in and of itself as you are getting to the goal. So it's not just crossing the finish line, it's who you are becoming in that process. And oftentimes, once you've reached that finish line, then it's just like this much of a much larger picture. And that's what I think is really, truly what we want. I mean, when we get down into beyond that top layer, that's where I personally have experienced the most joy and satisfaction. And it's something that I didn't know when I started this whole process. So I get really fired up when I try to share with you guys as to what I think the really cool part of it is beyond just your initial goal. So wanted to to share a little bit about some next right steps that you can take. Like, let's say, and if you're here right now and you can comment and share if you are working on a particular goal, that would be great, and I can relate it to a specific experience. But for those of you that are in the process of going after your goal, and oftentimes what happens is, we get excited about it, we get hopeful. It's like, oh my God, I think I can do this thing. If I do this thing, then I will get to feel a particular way. Won't that be amazing? So I'm going to start and do my best to go after whatever this thing is. And then inevitably something happens. Life happens. There are any number of things that could occur that are unexpected or that don't go the way that we want them to go. And so in that process, again, it's about being able to stay in it and allow it to teach you what it is that you need to learn to be able to get where it is that you want to go and become that person that you need to become to be able to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. So as a next right step, something that you can do to kind of take this talk into your own life and be able to just sit with this idea a little bit more, I'd love for you to write. And I've got a few questions for you. You can relate them to wherever you are in the process. It may be that you are already started and you've been making progress to a goal. It's okay if you're at the beginning and you haven't. You can always also relate to any type of goal that you've gone after in the past. And so I want you to think about the beginning. Again, if you're at the beginning, that's great because that's where you are. But if not, think back to what your expectations were. When you started this process, let's say, for me, it was paying off the credit card debt. That was my first progress map and my first kind of foray into this whole adventure. And so when I started there, what I expected was that my life would feel like I would feel freer. I would feel more adult, more on top of my shit if I were able to pay off my credit card debt. It was a thing that I had kind of carried around that was shameful, and I just wanted to be free of that. And I didn't know at the beginning if I could actually do it, but that was my initial expectation that, like, okay, if I pay off my credit card debt, and if I imagine, the accounts being zeroed out and my credit score going up and all of those things, I think I would feel amazing. I think I would be able to, start to move forward in this vision that I had for my life, which at the time included launching another website, an online sanctuary, and all these other things that were not Map Your Progress, I can assure you. So that was my outlook at the beginning. And as I went and as I started to take those next right steps, and in my case, it was putting my attention toward where my money was going and making sure that I was prioritizing when I received my money, paying off my credit card debt. As I started to take those different steps and approach it differently than I had in the past, and I started to color the swirls in, I started to gain a new trust for myself. And I started to realize, in other areas where I could also be more proactive. So I started to believe that I was capable of actually reaching this goal. And I started to think a bit bigger about what it was that I wanted for myself and the things that I also didn't think that I was going to do. You'll notice that there's patterns and there's similarities in how we relate to these goals. So that by the time that, it took me about a year to actually pay off all of that credit card debt, but the person that I was at the end of that year was not the same person, so to speak, as when I began that adventure. In some ways I was, in that I was still who I truly am. It's just that I had a lot more fear and layers of fear and mistrust on top of it. So as I started to take those steps and be able to demonstrate to myself and build that trust with myself that I could actually do things differently, that I could make those payments, that I could act like a grown-ass woman, that these were things that that I was becoming or allowing myself to be. And that is an active process, right? So there were things that I learned that I didn't expect. And what I'd like you to do is be writing about that, noticing from the beginning, what was it that you thought would happen? What did you think that you needed to do? In what ways would you need to grow? Who would you need to become? These kinds of questions are what I'd like you to think about as you're going and kind of embracing that process, that it's not just about getting somewhere out there. It's not about some mythical finish line in the future, but it's the day-to-day, today is Friday, this is what we're doing today kind of process that is going to carry you. And in staying in that process and enjoying that process to the best of your ability, that's where you're going to start to gain these new skills and strengths that will build upon themselves. Okay. So it's cool because I've oftentimes had this experience where, this is not an easy thing to do. It requires a lot of courage, and it requires you showing up again and again and be willing to win ugly, and willing for it to be imperfect, and willing for it to just be something that you can't foresee. And oftentimes that can be even better. So just your willingness to continue showing up. And I've had the experience many times of sort of looking back and picking my head up and going, holy shit, like a lot has happened. A lot of things have happened. But if we're not paying attention to it, or recognizing the victories that we have had, the actions that we have taken, which is another part of why the maps are visual, so we can start to see the colors and see that we actually have been making progress, then we're not always connected to that. So thinking of it as this process, thinking of it as the experience, that it's not just about the thing out there, it's not just about the finish line, it's making the whole process and every single part of it as enjoyable as you can make it. So, okay. Another part of this is, all week we've been talking about different types of goals and how to find ways to have them align with who you are and what's meaningful to you, what feels like success to you. And we talked yesterday about the human light types and what each of those different light types finds most satisfying and fulfilling and gratifying, and what they want to give, what in the experience of striving to give that, they start to come alive and feel amazing. That piece of it is really, really important in terms of the approach that we take. So, and what I was just talking about a second ago in terms of the process, and the whole point of pursuing the goals and making the progress is to develop that process, or practice is another way that I describe it. It's in the doing and the taking of the action. You can start to use your light type and what it is that is most meaningful to you to influence the actions that you are taking and the goals that you are taking. So that part of it, I think, is super important because it allows us to really enjoy the process more. And you are the only person that ultimately gets to choose what this will be for you and how your days are going to go, the actions that you're going to take, the ways that you're going to explore these things. So that is your choice and that is your practice as you are going. It doesn't have to be the kind of thing where in the pursuit of your progress, in the approach that you're taking, if it feels miserable, if it feels restrictive, if it feels like you're having to really do a lot of effort and just be pushing and grinding, that's a sign that things aren't aligned, which is fine because that's a great feedback and great information to have. And just to be able to start to make some tweaks and experiment, use your creativity to be able to start to find that momentum and that flow that allows you to keep growing and keep becoming a brighter, more truer version of yourself as you are pursuing this goal. So the next piece of that I want you to think about in terms of the bigger picture, why any of this matters, why it's worth going after the goals, is I want you to think about who in your life inspires you. And I want you to think about 3 people in particular in your life. These are not celebrities. These are not, archetypes or personas, but they are real people that are whole people with strengths and weaknesses, and people that you know well who inspire you in your life. And I want you to, this is where you can grab your pen again, do a little bit more writing in terms of next right steps, where you think about the qualities that you find inspiring about these people and what it is that they do, how they choose to live their life, the way in which they go about their day to day. What is it about them that is inspiring to you? And I actually started researching this a little bit and have a larger research project that is slowly unfolding. But I was really curious about, what is it in terms of others that inspires us? That, because I feel like that's such a part of this process and the progress is having that inspiration, having that love, having that creativity, having that enthusiasm be something that pulls you forward and starts to contribute to that momentum that you're able to then sustain, which keeps you going and growing in the process, and then you reach your goal, and it's just like this big upward spiral. So inspiration is like a fuel for that, right? And what I've noticed is that there are patterns often in terms of what inspires us. And in the people that I've interviewed for this so far, it was clear to see that there were some patterns. So when you look at the 3 people in your life that inspire you the most, I'm curious about what those patterns are. And I want you to write down specifically the things about them that inspire you. And they may be things like that they follow their heart without any guarantee of things turning out. And certainly there are no guarantees in life of things turning out, but often we're inspired by people who just have some sort of dream or sense that this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is what I'm supposed to create, and they just go for it, not knowing how it's going to turn out. And they get into action. They don't just talk about things, they do things. And they do brave things. It may or may not be like a big brave thing, but it's sort of the next right step, the next brave thing, and they push themselves outside of what is known and safe and comfortable. And they fail repeatedly. They fail over and over again, and yet they don't give up because they are so committed to whatever it is that's true for them and what they want to give. So they are willing to keep trying and keep being brave and keep failing. And so when you look at these 3 people, I'm curious if some of those things I've just described are part of that for you, as far as what is inspiring to you in terms of who they are. And so when you've written those down, I want you to then look at, like, what would your life look like if you started to embody some of those qualities that you admire? It's kind of like reverse engineering inspiration. But what I love about that is that you have control over it, and you are with yourself 24/7. You are your own partner in life, and you are the best person to be able to understand what it is that inspires you and what moves you and what supports you, and being able to take these actions and build these skills within yourself as part of this process when you are making progress. So coming back to those qualities, I want you to think about, if there's somebody in your life that that you admire who is really brave and doesn't give up, what would it look like for you in your life right now, based on whatever it is that you want to create or to achieve? What would it look like for you to be brave about that? And write as many things as come to mind, but definitely write down what a next right step would be if you were to be a bit braver, or whatever that quality is that they embody that you find inspiring. Because the thing is that when you start intentionally taking those types of actions, and when you choose to behave in a way that is inspiring to you, what happens is that you start to inspire yourself. And you start to change the relationship that you have with yourself and the quality of that relationship. And this is something that may or may not be obvious, especially initially, but you are with yourself all the time, right? So the quality of your day-to-day life and just any given moment, anything that you're doing, when you start to be with yourself and have the experience of yourself as an inspiring person, it creates a whole nother level of energy and of power and kind of a force that continues to lift things and really helps with the velocity of the progress that you're making. It's like if you go to the gym, you start working out, and you're lifting weights and you're building muscles, and then you start noticing that you're moving in your body differently and that you can do things that you couldn't do before, and it's a whole different feeling and experience of yourself. It's very much the same kind of thing when it comes to inspiring yourself and deliberately choosing how you are living your days, which is of course how you live your life, such that you feel proud, you feel like you are doing something worthwhile, that the journey in this process, this practice that you are creating and actually practicing, that in that there is the satisfaction, there is the joy, there is a connection to the things that you want, that you believe that having reached your goal, you will get to experience, and that you will get to be whoever it is that you really want to be, or you will get to do the things that you really want to do, or have whatever it is that you really want to have. So to start to connect that piece, that kind of what's beyond your goals, the whole point of doing any of this, why any of this matters, is the quality of your life and what you get to contribute, who you get to be, and the experience of all of it on a day-to-day basis, not just like special times or holidays or one-offs, but the day-to-day experience of your life. I want you to, again, grab a pen, and I want you to write down whatever goal seems most attractive to you right now. It does not matter what it is, but when you're looking, ahead in the near future in 2017 and thinking about what goal you would want to go after, write it down. And then I want you to write down what you think will happen once you have achieved that goal. So, let's say goal is I want to pay off all of my debt. Wonderful. Okay. So when you pay off all of your debt, how are you going to feel? And I want you to write out, and as much as it takes for you to feel empty and complete, write out how you think you are going to feel once you have reached that goal. And then I want you to look at it and say, okay, when you reach that goal, when you pay off your debt, who do you get to be in the world? Who do you get to be for the people that love you, for your family, for your kids, for people that you love, who maybe you work with, or perhaps you coach like a little league team. I don't know. I mean, think of the people in your life and your community, and who do you get to be that would be different than right now with the debt that you currently have? Who do you get to be? And then what will you do? So I really want you to just sit back, relax, and like envision in your head and try and feel in your body, like as if you are there, if you are in the room, if you are in the space of, I have achieved whatever this goal is. I have paid off all of my debt. There's no debt. So then what will I do? What would I have? And once you've gotten to that place and you're clear on whatever that would be, then I want you to ask yourself, like, well, what then? What would the next thing be? What would the new goal after that be? And if you are willing to take the time and actually sit with yourself and do this and write and just keep going and keep peeling back the layers and the different goals, you will start to get to what it is that you really, really want. And that's the piece that I am most interested in for you, because that's where the most power and potency and joy and satisfaction and contentment, like all the like juicy stuff that humans love, that's where that stuff is. And that is going to tell you a lot about your purpose, the things that matter most to you. And from there, then we can start to reverse engineer. And oftentimes we can cut a much more direct path to what it is that you really want, or use that path as a means to use whatever that is that you most really want as a way to take and shape your actions along the way, so that you reach your goal while having the experience that you want to have. So the more layers that you're willing to go through that, the better. Because when I think about, again, why I wanted to pay off that debt, it was because I wanted freedom, and I wanted to be able to see what I could contribute and what I could create. And if I were to step out of the shadows of the debt, of the self-doubt that I had, or where I was waiting for somebody else to, come save me or come fix it, and I was not actually stepping up into what was challenging and what was a bit scary at the time. In that process of who I've become, it's kind of amazing to look back and see how different I am from that person, and yet also very much the same. And I think it's the degree to which the fear has been influencing things and has kind of slowed me down. So I would love for you to start to look at that and to see what that might, because I so normally go about goals. And this is, something that I just get so fired up about, because there's so much more for you. And I want you to have that experience. So we start wherever you are. We start with whatever goal it is that seems like the right goal for you. And then we can kind of check for the alignment of if you are going to likely have the experience that you want to have from having gone after that goal and achieved it. And then we can look at the ways in which you are taking those actions and experimenting with those next right steps, and starting to tailor that and customize an experience so that you don't quit and you don't just stay in that cycle where you get really excited and, oh my God, it's going to be it. And then it goes well for a little bit, and then something happens, and then, oh God, no, it didn't work this time. And then, oh God, what does that mean about me? And, there's that kind of cycle that we can get stuck in. And so having found a way through, I want to be able to share that with you, and for you to be able to have that way forward, because everybody wins when you do. When you start to become stronger and brighter and more true version of yourself, the ripple effect is amazing. And it's not just about you, it's about everybody around you and the people that love you, the people that come in contact with you. So as far as next right steps and kind of coming into this new year, the reason that we had this series of 5 chats is that I wanted to give you kind of the best of what I've learned in this journey so far, and the types of things that I do with my clients as a progress coach. And I, of course, would love to be able to just be with each one of you and really hear more about the details of your particular goal and how we can apply all the things that I've been talking about this week to your life as it is right now, and as you are right now, with your strengths and with your weaknesses and with all the stuff that's ever happened to you and the challenges that are currently around you. I mean, really just as is right now. That's the type of conversation that I love to have, and applying these things that I'm talking about, which may seem abstract, to the reality of your life. So there's a few things that I can offer for those of you that this really resonates with, and you want to be able to dig a little deeper into this and explore more about what does this really look like for you. And one of the things that I've started doing just in the last month or so, and this is for customers, for Map Your Progress, those of you that have purchased progress maps. And this has started with those of you who have purchased them recently. But if you're watching this and you had purchased a progress map before, say, November, December-ish, whenever I started doing this, if you and I have not had a conversation about your goal alignment, and meaning, is your goal aligned with who you are and your values, your light type, your contribution that you want to make to the world, is that aligned and kind of synced up? And then is the way in which you are pursuing this and the next right, perhaps the meaning of your swirls, is that aligned with who you are? Because it's so much easier when it's aligned, so much easier to create that momentum and then sustain it. So I am starting to gift these conversations to customers at the beginning of the purchase of a new map to be able to make sure that you're squared away, and I can offer you recommendations and things to really kind of customize your approach with your map and whatever goal it is that you have. So that's one way you can do it. And to be able to have that session with me, all you need to do is buy a progress map. And if you already have purchased a progress map, then go ahead and message me, and I would love to be able to follow up with you and figure out a date time that we can have that chat. So that's the goal alignment. The kind of next level piece of this that absolutely relates to this bigger picture, why make progress anyhow, what's the point of it all? And that's really about, what you're here to contribute. And so the last couple of days, if you've been hearing chats, you may have noticed that I've been talking about the Spark session. And that is something that I have been gifting up until this point as well. That's been a very generous fall. And it is something that I will not be gifting in 2017. So you basically have like a day left to actually apply for a Spark session. And it's not so much a coaching session, but it's a 2-hour session where you and I are together, committed to getting clear on what type of light you are here to bring in the world, and what types of things would be most satisfying for you, what your life might look like were you to achieve some of these goals and start to have this momentum and transformation that I've described. Like what could be possible a year from now, for example. So that is something that we do in the Spark session. And you are welcome to apply for the next 24 hours or so for that session as a gift at no cost. And then going forward in 2017, if you are seeing this after 24 hours, this Spark session will be part of the progress plan. And the progress plan is something that I've been developing for some months now. And it's really the foundation for what I believe is most of service and could give you the best opportunity of being able to make that really meaningful progress in your life in a way that is most satisfying and fulfilling for you. Some more coming on the progress plan. But one other thing that's happening, and this is another timely one because this starts January 2nd, which is Monday. And this is Time to Win, which is something that I created because, frankly, I needed it. And when I know that I need something, then I know that it would also serve a number of you. So Time to Win is really a kind of collective power hour. It's where we get together virtually. This happens Monday through Friday throughout the month of January. And it actually happens twice a day at 9 a.m. Pacific and 3 p.m. Pacific. And so you are welcome to join us. I mean, I'm literally there for 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, for the entire month, and hosting a space where we actually don't even talk. We literally do not talk. Sounds are not made to each other, at least. And we just stay focused on what it is that we're going to do to take actions that would feel good, that would feel like victory. And it may be something very specific to a particular goal. It may be the kinds of things that you procrastinate. But the whole point of Time to Win is carving out time and space for you to intentionally take next right steps. And for it not to be an abstraction or a thought or just like something that we talk about, but a defined space where we can take those actions, where you can be encouraged, where you can be supported, where there are people who have a similar desire to grow and to contribute. And so Time to Win is where we do that together. And in January, we're doing this kind of special kickoff for the new year and for making progress with purpose, and doing a special goals workshop, which is happening on January 2nd, which is Monday. And it's a 2-part thing where at 9 a.m. we're going to actually be talking for the first time. There will be talking. It's Time to Win, working with each of you and helping within the small group, everyone get clear on which goal would be the most impactful, the most potent and fulfilling for you in the foreseeable future or in 2017. So we're going to make sure that that goal is aligned and that you are going to be able to have the best experience possible as you are in the process and creating that practice of actions that it's going to take to reach your goal. And then at 3 o'clock, we're going to come back. And I got a little ahead of myself, actually. At 9 a.m., we're going to choose the goal. And at 3 p.m., we're going to come back. And that's where we're going to talk about the more specifics of those next right steps, how you can use your light type to influence the next right steps that you take, and how you can start to customize that and have a strategy. Because then by the end of January 2nd, that two-part workshop, then we'll have that strategy from which to go forth for the month. And so as many times as you can come to our virtual power hours, then you can take your next right steps and put in the time and energy necessary to be able to create whatever it is that you want in terms of your goal. So you can come to both the 9 a.m. and the 3 p.m., one or the other. You can come once, you can come all. Seriously, there's 22 days, Monday through Friday. So it's possible that there will be 44 hours where I will be there. So you can join me for 44 hours of actually taking action. From the maps, where action, able to color in the map and get to the point where you have, which really is transformational, of you becoming the person, living your life and fulfilling to you in a way that truly matters. And it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing or what is fulfilling for them. This is really about you doing this for yourself, because paradoxically, the more you are willing to pursue this for yourself, the better you are able to be for other people. So that has been my experience. It's been the greatest joy of my life. And I want nothing more than to be able to support you in doing that, and have this be much more than just about goals or coloring or, hitting arbitrary benchmarks, that it's about more than that. It's about the quality of your life and who you get to be and what you get to do with your time on the planet. So with that, I am going to encourage you to take some next right steps, to not listen to your clever brain, which is that part of our brain that doesn't want you to change, doesn't want you to try anything new, thinks this all sounds like a terrible idea, and that Amy sounds like a very suspicious person. Don't listen to her. Don't listen to your clever brain. You have to decide who you want to entrust with your decision making. And I hope that you will trust yourself and not that part that runs on fear, that is not really who you are, because you are here to be more than afraid. And I am here to support you in that. So go forth. I hope that you will seek out a goal alignment session. I would love to have you apply for a Spark session. You have 24 hours to do that. Would be wonderful to have you at Time to Win in January, so we can do that goals workshop together, and then show up and be with you as you are taking these steps. Oh, Taz, so lovely. Said, thank you for these sessions. Looking forward. Time to Win on Monday. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Taz. I'm so excited to see you there. So much is possible, more than you guys realize. So I'm excited to be part of that with you. And I will look forward to seeing you again next week, actually. I've started doing these chats on Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific. So it'll be January 6th next time. And what I'm going to be sharing about is really kind of breaking down very practically what makes progress mapping different. Why you would want to try this process or use this approach when there are, other types of approaches and kind of popular ideas about making progress and goals and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to kind of really break down what we do differently and help you see, again, what makes the most sense for you. All right, dears. Lovely to be with you. Have an amazing New Year's Eve, and I look forward to seeing you on January 2nd and all of the cool shit that we're going to do in January. All right? Thank you so much. Bye, dears.